This project, Godson, because my godmother was Mahalia Jackson. And there's this great story that my mom used to tell me when she was changing my diapers, and she was singing this blues song. It was early one morning, I was on my way to school. And she never sang the blues, but that's what makes the story so unique. She was a very God-sent woman, and I always remember her reading her Bible. And as a little boy, I would spend weekends right there on 83rd in Indiana. She would send her nephew Alan Clark or her secretary Polly. They would come pick me up, and I would sleep right upstairs with her, right in this huge bed. She had this master bedroom suite, and the bed was as big as this room. And up until about 7 years old, I actually slept with her. And then I remember when I was turned about 8, I got my own bedroom, which now this was in the 60s. And I had my own remote control, and it was a color TV. And I mean, that was big stuff. She wrote this thing that she autographed it for me. It was her book about her life, and she wrote the inscription, "To my son Billy, may the love of God always keep you in his ear. Your mother, Mahalia Jackson." And that's the cover of this project. And she would always say something like, when my mom would be sitting there, "I'm your mother. That's your mammy, but I'm your mother." And I mean, she had a great sense of humor. I would sing. When I started singing, I was a little boy. She would let me open up some of her local programs around the city. I would sing 1 or 2 songs. And I remember going to Rockford to sing on one of her programs, and then I got me a little group together, 2 or 3 of my friends, and they backed me up, and it was just fun. I remember the ride going back and forth. Aretha. Many people, they just know that I toured with her for over 13 years, but Aretha is really my sister. And before I can get into that, I have to go to my mom, who was this just multi-talented, beautiful woman, down to earth. She owned several nightclubs, and she had several acquaintances. She knew all the who's who, I would say, in the black community. Count Basie, Duke Ellington. Among her friends were Mahalia and Aretha's father, the Reverend C.L. Franklin. My mom was a hat maker. She made these beautiful hats. In fact, the hat that Mahalia wore when she sang at the march in Washington, when she sang "We Shall Overcome," my mother made that hat. Aretha's dad and my mother had a very serious relationship, and this was really all before my time. And Aretha very fondly speaks about it in the book. And there was just so much stuff in her book from these roots that I learned because I wasn't even thought of. But I came along after the relationship was over. And all I know is that when Aretha or Carolyn or Irma or Cecil, whenever they would come to town, they would come by and see my mom, and mom would cook, and I was just raised knowing that these were my brothers and Vaughn, my brothers and my sisters. And so it just so happened that by Aretha being more popular, because Irma had plenty of records out too with Lloyd Price, but Aretha is really the one that inspired me to sing. I remember going to see her at the Regal. I remember she and Granville White would pick me up as a little boy, and when she was singing for Sock Hops and I think Herb Kent and skating parties, and at the time Purvis Spann kind of ran the Regal, and he crowned her the queen of the blues. And I was there. She would pick me up, and oh man, it was just fun having a big sister that was famous. And most people, when they think about Aretha, it's the fame, but when I think about Aretha, it's family. Willie Mitchell. There was a DJ, he's a minister now in Chattanooga, Dr. Bernie Miller, but at the time he was a disc jockey for WJPC, BBD Banana. And I was introduced to him through Charles Sanders, who was the managing editor of Ebony Magazine, a friend of mine. And he introduced me to Mr. B, and Mr. B introduced me to Willie Mitchell down in Memphis. And it was like love at first sight. Papa Willie and his wonderful wife Ann and his daughters and his grandchildren. Now it's ironic because Archie is the one that's involved with this project, Archie Mitchell, and he's Willie Mitchell's grandson. So I've kind of come full circle after recording 3 albums and 100 sides, I guess it seemed like, with Willie Mitchell, and doing the Memphis Soul tours in Europe. Now his grandson, who was like a son to me, I'm older than Archie, but he thinks that I'm his son. That's how silly we get. But this guy is just so talented, and I can see the Willie Mitchell legacy just through him. He's just so talented, and just God sent me down there. I was vacationing, and we started kicking it with some of this music. I sat at the piano and started playing, and he just wrapped his soul around these songs. And so we just kept doing it and kept doing it, and now the album is complete. It seemed like forever that it took. This project, we've been working on it a few years, and I'm just glad that, well, I'll put it like this. I believe Psalms 47:4, where the Lord says that I will choose your inheritance. Actually, it reads, and he shall choose our inheritance. So I know that this is the time for this to be happening. I was a little anxious, to be perfectly honest, but now it just feels so right. Everything is just falling in place. Billie Always. Well, that name came from Aretha. She recorded me when I was about 14 years old. She and Carolyn, and we did about 4 sides down in Miami, at Miami's Criteria Studios, and she sprung it on me in an elevator. We were going up to her penthouse apartment in Manhattan, and she introduced, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet a person that I think is going to be around for a long time, Billie Always, and it just felt good. So I decided to keep it. I've written a lot of songs with just so many artists. We did a thing with the Tom Cruise movie, The Firm. We did the thing for Bonnie Raitt, which won the Grammy for 1995. The name of that song was I Sure Do. It went triple platinum. And just several other songs for various artists, Otis Clay and Peebles, and just tons of other people that I've written songs for. But now, I don't know if I ran from this. I remember playing for churches, and people and preachers would always say, well, you know, God's got something else for you to do. And I always responded to them, well, when he gets ready for me to do something else, he'll tell me before, you know. So I know he may have told you, but he'll tell me. So this time he did tell me. And it's the strangest thing. It's like walking by a plug and you get a shock, or maybe when you walk on a rug and you get a little shock. That's how I was kind of doing it before he actually told me to do this album. But it's like the difference in that and putting your hand in the plug. And I've always been afraid to just put my hand in the plug, but it's a totally different thing. It's a totally different level that I'm on with the Lord. And I have no doubt that He wants me to do this, and that's why I'm doing it. And every song, even the ones that I didn't write, the ones that I did write, it really didn't matter. It's just what I felt for this, and I'm hoping that it's a blessing to you.